How did you get started on this, and how did you get interested in the subject?
I got interested in this subject through climate change, climate denial specifically. I'm an environmental attorney, and back in the 1990s, I worked for the state of Minnesota. And we found ourselves very briefly sort of on the front lines of the scientific debate over climate change. And the way that happened was the state had passed a law saying that utilities regulators should try to estimate the cost to the environment of generating electricity. We get most of our power from coal, or we did then. And so we looked at coal emissions. We looked at the traditional pollutants that we had regulated for a long time. And my client was the Pollution Control Agency, so I was familiar with those. What we also looked at, though, and I wasn't familiar with, was CO2 and its effect on climate change, because while that was a big issue globally, there was already a global treaty signed to fight climate change. States had not taken a look at that. And what happened was we struck a nerve with the coal industry. And they sent to Minnesota a bunch of witnesses, a bunch of scientists, to testify that we did not have to worry about climate change, and it wasn't going to happen. Or if it did, it would be just a little, and we'd like it. And that all of those scientists, the IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, those scientists that the rest of the world, including the U.S. government in the treaty signed by George H.W. Bush, the ones that they were relying on, those scientists were basically biased. They were biased because they were in it for the money somehow. They wanted research grants, or they had some political agenda. It was kind of vague. But it was clear they did not want us worrying about this issue at all.
They told you that it would be just a little and that you would like it? What did they mean by that?
Well, a couple of things. One of the arguments, and you will still hear this sometimes, is that CO2 is a plant fertilizer, which is true. And therefore, more CO2 makes the world a happier place for plants and therefore better for everybody else. And to the point where one of the coal interests who were in that, who were parties, had put out a video saying that the Earth was deficient in CO2. And by digging up the coal and burning it, we were correcting that. So that was one of the arguments. The other was, it'll be mild, it'll be warm, the winters won't be as cold, and hey, this is Minnesota, so, you guys are going to appreciate those warmer winters. There was a lot of crazy stuff that hasn't gone away.